Today on Tabletop News, D&D issues a statement on a certain piece of art in the upcoming Player's Handbook.
We get into some of the details of the new Star Wars trading card game.
Ooh, and a chat with Jennifer Kretchmer about the importance of accessibility in gaming.
All that and more on your official stop for all things tabletop. I'm Nathan Ondracek.
And I'm Giselle LeBlue-Gant.
And this is Tabletop News.
Let's roll.
This week, a now-deleted X thread accused artist Nestor Asandin of using AI for their Dwarf Warrior art in the upcoming D&D 2024 release. In response, Asandin released their work-in-progress pieces and their design process behind the work to disprove the accusation.
Meanwhile, Wizards of the Coast released a statement confirming the artist did not use AI for the piece, and then the next day released statements for both D&D and Magic, saying they require all their writers, creatives, and artists to refrain from using AI.
AI models are often trained on the pre-existing work of artists and writers, leading many to be wary of the rapidly developing technology and sometimes sparking less than civil discourse on the internet or jumping to unfounded claims.
People being less than civil on the internet? Gasp!
I know.
The significance of art in gaming and the potential threat AI poses to it can be viewed through the lens of our past. Next year, Wizards of the Coast releases The Making of Original Dungeons and Dragons 1970 through 1976, with letters between Gygax and Arneson and some as yet unreleased early art like, oh my God. Look at that dragon! What a silly little guy. I mean, look, it's just demure.
Yes, very silly.
Wow.
Meanwhile, modern games are taking art to another level, like Electric State, which is currently on Kickstarter, featuring artist Simon Stalenhag's jarring, eerie art of a suburban, rural, alternate 90s America where weird technology impedes upon nature. Based on a graphic novel from writer Nils Hintze, the RPG is created by Free League Publishing.
Fascinating. Let's see that dragon again. Come on, look at the wings.
Right, I know.
I mean, majestic.
Enough of the silly dragon, because we've got to keep going.
Sorry.
We've got to keep going.
Okay.
I know, we're all excited. At this year's PAX Unplugged, Dicebreaker honored artists with the first ever tabletop award for best art in a game.
Among the nominees were Historica Arcanum, Herald of Rain, created by Istanbul-based Metis Media, with its undead Silk Road imagery, and Leyline Press's Salvage Union, with its evocative and playful post-apocalyptic setting.
The winner of the award was Sephiroth, a tarot-based card game with meticulously crafted art from Viv Tanner and Eli Baum. Each card is full of symbolism and story and is inspired by esoteric tales and Viennese Art Nouveau.
Ooh, all this wonderful art not only employs the artist, it brings an intention to the gameplay.
Yeah.
This is something many argue AI-generated art does not capture. Another thing AI art can't do? Silly little dragons, bring that guy back in. Look at it. Oh my goodness, the clouds. Look at it, just soaring.
Yeah.
It's very, the lipstick though, it's very, you know, early days.
It's a great dragon.
Jump a jack flash. I love it.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next segment, shall we? Just,
all right.
look, don't get me wrong.
Okay.
In addition to specialized inks, paints, and adhesives, the average board game we crack open often contains a whole lot of plastic, including shrink-wrapped cards, which seem recyclable, but oftentimes are not. Earthborne Rangers is a new game that brings attention to the ecological impacts of board game production.
Andrew Navaro, designer of Earthborne Rangers, is quite familiar with these materials, having spent nearly 2 decades in the industry, mostly with Fantasy Flight Games, the makers of the upcoming Star Wars Unlimited TCG.
Aided by students taking a sustainability course at the University of Illinois in the fall of 2021, Navaro's goal with Earthborne Rangers was to create a game where every element is fully recyclable, backyard compostable, or both.
Gameplay-wise, Earthborne Rangers is a customizable, cooperative adventure game set in the wilderness of the far future for 1 to 4 players, where you'll begin by building a deck that reflects your character's personal history.
Your actions help shape the course of events, as each time you take an action on the table, the world comes to life around you. And just as our actions affect the world around us, this thoughtful game aims to raise awareness of the impact gaming can have on our ecological system.
This week, we sat down with disability consultant Jennifer Kretchmer to talk about the importance of accessibility in gaming and how those issues affect everyone, whether we know it or not.
My name is Jennifer Kretchmer. I am an actor, I'm a producer, I am a tabletop performer, I'm a tabletop author. Also, I'm a disability consultant. A disability consultant is someone who comes in and works with different teams to try and improve their representation of disability, their understanding of what disability is, to make sure their characters are accurately depicted. It's really important to have those conversations because in the real world, more than 26% of people are disabled. But in terms of media representation, it's a very, very small percentage of the characters we see. The tabletop industry is starting to get more and more accessible, which is wonderful, but historically, there has not been a lot of access or accuracy in the space. Disability is often used for villainy, which is a frustratingly persistent trope. But also in tabletop, we're moving toward more accessible tools like screen reader-friendly materials, having digital tools, and those things are okay rather than those being problems in terms of how we play. The pandemic has had a lot of different impacts on the gaming space. First and foremost, it brought digital gaming really to the forefront. A lot of shows also started using captioning. Some shows started having interpreters, which was amazing. So this really opened up ways for people who might not have had access to games before to really dive into gaming. But at the same time, very quickly people dove back into conventions and large gatherings. Some events have made an effort to have hybrid panels or to have different ways for people to attend. Some shows have kept mask requirements, but the reality is basically every convention we've had, there's been an outbreak afterward. I think the advice I would give to organizers of those events would be to really think about community care. Masking is really important, ventilation is really important, putting events outside whenever it's possible, having tests available for free, having masks available for free. It's both a financial investment and a moral investment in the community that you have. I think it's really, really important that disabled people continue to advocate for themselves and not let themselves disappear. It's becoming increasingly difficult for disabled voices to be heard. During the pandemic, it was very much a community care and everyone is taking care of one another and protect each other. And very rapidly that vanished. And I think the way our society has historically looked at disability has made people very afraid of it. And when people are confronted with that and the understanding that they are vulnerable to being disabled, the way that they have treated disabled people and had attitudes about disability their whole lives makes them very afraid of becoming disabled themselves. There are so many amazing resources out there to educate yourself more on disability, on ableism, on how to create more accessible spaces and inclusive worlds. The first thing I always recommend is Stella Young's TED Talk, which is called I Am Not Your Inspiration. Thank you very much. It's a 9-minute hilarious TED Talk, and I can't recommend it highly enough. I have a free accessibility resource that links you to tons and tons of different resources for world building, for writing, for creating accessible spaces. There's an amazing resource called the Fate Accessibility Toolkit, which is available through Evil Hat, that is all written by disabled creators, that shares so many different ways to include authentic disabled representation in your tabletop world. And it's such a great book and such an incredible resource. I can't recommend it highly enough.
To learn more about Jennifer, you can find her on X. Plus, check out the description below to view some of the resources she mentioned in the interview.
Giselle, I want to talk about
games that are free and require minimal resources.
Only if I can get a cool voice too.
We'll see if we can work it in. Let's start with Call of Plastic, a miniature war game by Adam L. Dobbins. The rules are about 2 pages long. It uses little plastic army men, and the terrain is your kitchen table with whatever is already on it. Take cover behind the pizza box for a defensive bonus. Just don't get outflanked because it doesn't count against melee rules.
This sounds like the plot for a gritty Toy Story reboot. And that reminds me, I got one for you.
Okay.
In a land where they have stolen Christmas from the masses, it's up to a ragtag band of rebels to take it back in Wreck the Halls. A 1-page Christmas cyberpunk RPG by Thrin Henderson and Grant Howitt. Just make sure your Christmas raid ends before the pressure is too high and you're knocked out of the game. Though, fulfilling your randomly generated Christmas wish can bring some temporary relief. The entire rule set fits on 1 page, and all you need are a few dice, some paper, and a friend or two.
I love that. But after all that grim and gritty, I think I need something a little more relaxing. I imagine myself a humble potato farming halfling, ignoring the dark lords and rampaging minions, avoiding pesky wizards, and just tending my crop.
You should play Potato, a one-page game by Oliver Darkshire, because that's the entire premise.
Love it.
Boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew. Just make sure your destiny meter doesn't fill up, or you'll be whisked away on a wretched adventure before harvest time. Potato is played with a few D6s, and it's a solo game, so you can enjoy a relaxing second breakfast on your own while you play.
You know, Giselle, potatoes always make me think of one thing.
French fries.
Star Wars.
What?
Because some of the asteroids in Empire Strike Back, it was potatoes.
What?
I'm giving you an in to the next story here, is what I'm trying.
Right.
Yes.
Fantasy Flight Games previews the highly anticipated card game Star Wars Unlimited.
Star Wars Unlimited has been in development for over 3 years and will pick up elements from Fantasy Flight's previous card games, which includes Game of Thrones, the card game, and Call of Cthulhu, the card game.
Unlike Magic the Gathering, which uses land cards to build mana, Unlimited's resource system will be closer to Disney Lorcana and Flesh and Blood's approach, where players are allowed to use almost any card in hand as a resource.
Decks in Star Wars Unlimited must be a minimum of 50 cards with only 3 copies of any one card. Unlimited decks must have a leader such as Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, or Boba Fett, as well as a base such as the Death Star Command Center or Catacombs of Gadara on Jedha.
Leaders have built-in abilities that impact the game and can also serve as units that do battle more directly to opponents. Leaders will have 2 of 6 aspects, where bases will have 1.
These aspects are vigilance, command, aggression, cunning, heroism, and villainy. Mixing and matching leaders with different bases and different aspects will create entirely new decks, truly keeping players on their toes.
Star Wars Unlimited is Fantasy Flight's 7th game in the Star Wars universe, and its first set, Spark of the Rebellion, comes to us in March of 2024.
Before our next story, we just wanted to take a brief moment and say thank you to you, our viewers, supporters, and gaming friends.
Tabletop News is an entirely independent production because of the belief of a whole lot of people coming together to raise funding on Kickstarter to make the series happen.
Earlier this year, we launched a Kickstarter to raise the funding to make 10 episodes of Tabletop News. And through thick and thin, we've done it. While we can't say yet what the future holds, the fact remains, without so many of you supporting us, this never would have become a reality. So thank you.
If you're looking for fun ways to support the show outside of the standard like, share, and follow, please consider visiting our website and shopping with our amazing partners who have provided incredible deals for our audience because they too believed in us. Using those codes, links, and deals honestly goes a long way towards supporting Tabletop News.
But hey, that's enough about us.
Oh.
Let's get back to it, shall we?
The Brooklyn Strategist is a game cafe in New York. Yeah, shout out to New York. Owned by John Freeman, that recently made headlines after their workers successfully unionized. This follows close on the heels of successful unionization efforts at another game cafe chain, Hex & Company, a joint venture between John Freeman and Greg May. The latter being the creator of a third game cafe, The Uncommons, which also held a successful election to unionize on December 6th.
In all 3 cases, Freeman and May were presented with the opportunity to voluntarily recognize the unions, and they refused each time. The workers at the stores pressed on, filing for a union election with the National Labor Relations Board, and subsequently winning those elections in landslide victories.
Workers seeking better wages and working conditions have been on the upswing in the tabletop gaming industry in recent years. In late 2021, Paizo Publishing and Cards Against Humanity employees each formed their own unions.
Well, if there's one thing tabletop gamers are good at, it's banding together to face big challenges while navigating complex sets of rules and regulations.
Hear, hear. This makes me think we should develop our own TTRPG about unionizing. We could call it Workers and Wages.
Yes. Dare you stand against merciless managers and their legions of union busters?
That's an original idea. Do not steal it.
Yes.
If I see it, I'm coming for you.
Well, now, okay, we'll probably have to crowdfund that idea, and we can take inspiration from all the awesome projects Sam is about to feature on Fun Day. Inspire us, Sam! Come on!
Welcome to Fun Day! I'm Sam Cavalcanti, and today we're highlighting the latest in tabletop crowdfunding. First up is Beyond the Beasts from Hebridean Tales. With this deck of cards, you no longer have to dig through a monstrous compendium when your party encounters a beast. Each card comes with crisp, black and white artwork to help your party see who they're up against. On the back, you can find lore, stats, variations on the creature, a quick GM guide with relevant information, and more. The campaign goes until January 10th and has stretch goals to include more types of monsters. From St. Cayman Studios, a two-man coalition, comes their first project, The Night Watch. It's a combination tabletop game and music album, all rolled into one CD or MP3 file. I always wanted a game that could go into my Spotify Wrapped. The Night Watch tells the tale of unsung heroes of dark fantasy worlds as they defend their villages from frightening beings that go bump in the night. Listen to immersive original music on one 18-minute EP while you adventure as one of the Night Watchmen protecting their home against the thralls of hell. For more information on the 2 ways to play the Night Watch, see on over to their Kickstarter before December 30th and contribute to funding this haunting melody of a dungeon synth combo. Today's Fun Day is sponsored by Foreteller Games, makers of professional audio narration featuring talented voice actors, music, and sound effects for your at-home adventures. Foreteller's newest arrival, Sleeping Gods Distant Skies, is now available with over 7 hours of narration featuring 31 voice actors. Use code TTN for 10% off narration games. Link in description below. This next project lets you flex a little creativity in Our Fantasy Town by Gnome Made Games. It's a map of a fantasy town that backers help create. Backers can vote for the town's name, create NPCs to live there, and even design the buildings around town. The higher the pledge tier, the more involved you can be. To top it all off, the product will be sold on DriveThruRPG, and backers who contribute will get royalties on the sales. It's set out with a goal of only $88 and has raised a whopping $1,959. Stretch goals increase the size and complexity of the final town, and the campaign doesn't end until December 30th. Finally, we have Cyberpunk Unfolds, an immersive sci-fi pop-up escape game. You play as recruits for a revolutionary group fighting to overthrow a corrupt system in the cyberpunk world. As you solve puzzles, you build the structure, no glue or scissors required. Made by Key Enigma, the game is cooperative for 1 to 4 players. Each room has hidden details to find, and you will build 3D objects and play with perspective to win the game. You better hurry though, this campaign ends on December 23rd. I may be a little biased because I worked in an escape room, but you should definitely get that one. Alright, that's enough of me. So Nathan, back to you.
I gotta say, Beyond the Beast looks great. Anything that'll help a DM or GM run an encounter a little more quickly, a little more smoothly, that's a win.
You know what time it is?
Hammer time.
No, it's News from Your Table, where we share news from your games.
This week's news from your table comes to us from Lemon on our Discord.
Hey, Lemon.
Hi. They played the Alien board game and it was a tense battle. Things started off smooth when they got the flashlight to help their morale.
That's good.
Yeah, until the encounter deck started moving the alien closer and closer to them.
That's bad.
Yes, it is. And it created more and more blockades for them to get around.
That's more and more bad.
Their final objective was to blow up the ship.
Oh no, the worst kind of bad.
They had 4 rounds to make it to the escape hatch until the ship self-destructed. Together they rallied and incinerated the alien, sending it back to its nest. With 1 round to go, they had 1 crew member safe while 2 were still 2 rooms away, and their morale was dropping.
Well, you know, sometimes you just gotta...
They weren't wired that way. They didn't give up. An alien caused 1 to flee closer to the escape hatch, and with their final action, they used the captain power of No Man Left Behind, enabling the captain to run back, grab the last teammate, pick them up, and bring them both to safety. The turn ended with everyone safe as the self-destruction began. They end the story with this, and I quote, "While we might have fudged the rules slightly to allow us to win at the end, it was a fun time."
Well, that's amazing. As long as you're having fun, there's nothing wrong with fudging the rules a little bit.
Yes, Giselle, yes, that is exactly why I cheat at every game I play.
What?
That's it for the news this week. Thanks for watching Tabletop News, your official stop for all things tabletop. Don't forget to ring that bell, like, and subscribe.
Before we end today's show, we wanted to say thank you one more time for supporting Tabletop News. We're so grateful to all of our Kickstarter backers for helping bring these 10 episodes to life. And we can't wait to see what new adventures happen in 2024.
Remember, our website has a ton of deals, discounts, and codes with some amazing partners like Swagbucks, Legend Keeper, Arcane Wonders, and so many more. Please consider showing your support by using those as you shop this holiday season. And on behalf of our entire team, thank you! I am Nathan!
Beast! Lockdown!